Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to yet another World of Tanks review, this time featuring the E5, the T110E5, the American heavy tank. Now, this tank is probably one of the best all-round tier 10 tanks. It's not weak in any real way. It's good armor, it's nice and maneuverable, it's got good speed, it's got a good gun. It doesn't really excel in any of these areas, but it's strong in all of them, which means it's a very versatile tank. But before we go into this too much, we'll talk very quickly about the line. I already talked about the line somewhat in my M103 video, so I'm not going to go back over it too much. But pretty much, as I said before, this entire line is really good. Most lines have a couple of tanks in them that you really don't want to play. Doesn't really exist here. The tier 5's kind of mediocre, but then as soon as you get into the last 5 tanks of the line, the M6 is really good for its tier, one of the best. The T29 is the best heavy for its tier. The T32 kind of it's more niche than the than some other tanks. It's a hull down tank basically, and its gun isn't quite up to scratch, but it's still very competitive at tier 8. The M103 is probably my favourite tier 9 tank. It's as strong as the E75, but in different ways. This has got slightly worse armour, but a bit more manoeuvrable, and the gun's much more reliable. And you can see my M103 video, and you can really see what it's capable of. And then we come up to the E5 now. Without further ado, we'll get right into it. Before I start, however, we'll talk about some of the kind of general weaknesses of the tank before we jump into stats. Now, the most obvious thing you can see if I just turn the tank around is this. Now, this is pretty much the only weakness of the tank. The side armour isn't great, but you can kind of work around that. This, however, is a real problem, and this is kind of what I was talking about before, saying how, teaching play styles as you go up the line. I mean, really, from tier 7, both these two tanks are amazing at going hull down. Really strong turrets. The T32 has a tiny cupola, so it's really hard to pen its turret. T29's is slightly bigger. M103 is really good at hull down as well. And then you get to this tank, and it's really bad at hull down because of that. That is a huge weak spot. Fire any gun at that, and you're going to pen and kill the commander most of the time. So, talk about a playstyle shift, going from the best hull down tanks in the game to this, which is the worst hull down tier 10 heavy by orders of magnitude. So that's the thing you kind of got to bear in mind with this tank. But anyway, we'll jump straight into the stats. 2,200 hit points. Not a huge amount, really. But again, this isn't really. I mean, it's a heavy tank by name, but it sits somewhere between a heavy and a medium, really. But 2,200 health, nothing to sniff at. It's the same as the IS7, I believe. I've got one in the garage. Oh no, IS7's got 50 less. Yeah. So it's not huge amounts, but it's certainly enough to work with. 54 tons, 875 horsepower engine. So this thing shifts. This thing really does get a move on. It's also got 30 hull and 32 turret, which means this thing does spin around, and its maneuverability is really pretty good. Honestly, for a heavy tank, you can really kind of maneuver it around other heavy tanks and really kind of flank them and get into positions quicker, which is really what this tank is used for, honestly. Let's talk about the armor. 254 hull armor. That's really strong. The hull of this tank, unless a tier 10 tank destroyer is going to shoot you here, if you're looking at stuff face on, tier 10 heavies will pen you there. But if you angle your tank slightly, they can have a much harder time. And you can see, if you just look at the lower plate here, it's really rounded and got nice angles on it. The upper plate has a ridiculous angle. I mean, you can see. I mean, that's just. I mean, and this band here, just there, That's where the 554 armor is, and up here it's about 220. I seem to remember. So really, really strong. Side of the tank 76. You can side scrape in this tank, but I wouldn't advise it. I mean, you really have to side scrape at a very funny angle. But I mean, yeah, compared to almost every other tier 10 heavy, you're worse at side scraping. And the rear of the tank is, 38. Yeah, anything's going to go through there, so don't even worry about it. Turret armor, 203 at the front and 127 at the sides. Now, from the front, very, very well angled. If anything's firing at you like this, it's going to bounce off the sides. However, the side of the turrets here, very, very, very weak. Very weak indeed. Anything's going to go through here at tier 10. Literally anything. So make sure you've got that turret faced at things you want to shoot at. Back of the turret, 70 again. May as well be nothing really. Yeah. Let's talk about the gun, shall we? 120. 6 rounds per minute. Pretty good. Round every 10 seconds. Unmodified, which means it brings it down to about 8.2, 8.3, I think, something like that. Maybe a bit lower. 258 pen. Not huge. But it's a tier 10 heavy. It's kind of what you can expect. However, again, I have quite a lot of gold shells fitted on this tank. You don't really need them, because 0.35 accuracy and a 2 aiming time means that you're going to be able to hit stuff. Really, when you fire at stuff, it's going to generally go where you aim it. This is not the IS-7's gun. That's got 250 pen and 0.4 accuracy. Because that thing is awful. 400 average damage, good chunk of damage, pretty good DPM on this tank. 400 is not vast. It's this isn't really a brawling tank. And I'll kind of go into why that is in a minute. But basically, if you don't want a peek-a-boom, and peek-a-boom is where you kind of drive round, exchange a shot with the enemy tank, and then you both drive back round the corner again. Basically trading hits, because pretty much all the other tier 10s are going to have higher alpha than you and probably more health or similar health. So that's not something you really want to do. Having said that, this gun is very, very good. This tank. Again, it's really a jack of all trades as far as tier 10 heavies are concerned. It can operate at long range. With the 2 aiming time, 0.35 accuracy, you can shoot stuff at distance with this thing, and it's probably going to go in. So, yeah, you can really, you can snipe with this, you can brawl with it in a pinch, but it's those kind of mid-range engagements where you really have the advantage. And honestly, the aiming time coupled with the accuracy means that you can snapshot with this thing way quicker than other tier 10 heavies. Way, way quicker. So that's really something to bear in mind. Moving off the gun, view range and signal range pretty standard. I've already talked about the traverse, and which this tank can really kind of get a shift on. Crew skills, as usual for tier 10 heavies, you're going to want repairs. Repairs 6 cents is what I normally take. This is a pretty bad crew, because my better crew is the crew that I did have on this is sitting in here, which is going to be on my T57 heavy. And it's just something I did, mostly because I felt I did pay gold to move this crew over, but mostly because I felt that a better crew on a medium is better than a better crew on a heavy. Because on a heavy, realistically, Brothers in Arms is nice, but you can pretty much get repairs and then you're good to go, quite honestly. The rest of this, you don't really need to worry about spotting range, and half the time at close range, snapshot doesn't really matter, I mean, it makes a difference, but, I really think that a good crew is much more effective on a medium. So yeah, repairs. Then I went for specific skills. Next I'll get Brothers in Arms. In terms of specific skills, safe stowage, can't really go wrong with safe stowage really. In terms of the other things that that they can get, intuition and adrenaline rush, don't really like either of those skills particularly. Camouflaged on a heavy, don't be silly. Firefighting, this doesn't really get set on fire. Off-road driving, this tank, while it's quite quick, it isn't fast, and I'll kind of explain what I mean. It accelerates well, and it's nice and manoeuvrable, so it's pretty quick off the mark. However, top speed at 37, it is not slow. This is not a slow tank, but it doesn't get up to the speed that the IS-7 does, for example, which has got a 59. Whereas this is not manoeuvrable at all. Turning this thing around is a real pig. And you can tell it's got worse traverse, and it also just interacts with the suspension is just worse. It just doesn't interact with the ground as well. But this thing, if I'll do a video on this tank at some point, but this is really a shock tank. This drives to locations quickly and basically takes key points on the map and sits there and can hold them very, very well. Anyway, back to the E5. So yeah, not really all that fast. So off-road driving I think is key. Snapshot on a gunner, pretty standard. And again, Sixth Sense, Sixth Sense isn't as needed on tier 10 heavies, but it's still the best commander skill, as most people will tell you. Equipment, pretty standard. Other things you could put on this, pretty sure the best choices are obvious. Again, toolbox toolbox is normally only good in tanks that side scrape because they get the tracks blown off quite often. So like E100s, Mauses, the VK series, the British tier 10 heavy, things like that. On this tank, you don't really want to be side scraping, mostly because of this. If you're so close to stuff that you're going to be side scraping, then this is going to be a big target, and it doesn't really matter how inaccurate the tank is. It's going to hit that, from point blank range. So yeah, pretty standard setup in my opinion. Always go with the automatic fire extinguisher on most tanks above tier 8, I'd say. Mainly because it saves you taking unnecessary damage from fires, but it also reduces the chance of being set on fire. It gives you 10% less chance to be set on fire, so it kind of pays for itself in that way. Less chance to get set on fire, and automatically puts it out when it happens. You can't really go wrong. Don't really get damaged all that much in this. Like, module damage doesn't really happen to this tank, and I don't really get crew members killed that often. Sometimes your commander does get killed, but I have to say, for the amount of times that this actually gets shot, which is a lot, if someone's going to be aiming at your tank, the first thing they're going to be aiming at is that. And normally when people are doing stuff like that, you want to shake your turret from side to side to make these cupola harder to hit. That thing is so big that it doesn't matter. Like, if you shake the turret from side to side, this barely moves. It pretty much stays in the same position, which is kind of pointless. Everything else is pretty standard. So I'll kind of go into the way that I think this tank should be played. Pretty much, you want to engage stuff at long range or medium range. Basically, any range where they can't hit this reliably. So 150 plus meters to maybe up to about 300 is the ideal range to be fighting with this tank. There's lots of exceptions to that, obviously. Like, it is a heavy, so it does excel in towns. But you don't ever want to get into a face-hugging match with this tank. You don't ever want to, be like this and have the other enemy tank right here in front of you, because they'll just shoot this. In the T-34, for example, the cupola's right above the gun, which means you can just lift your gun up in the air and they won't be able to hit your cupola because the gun will be blocking it. Pro tip, for any T-34 drivers out there, lift your gun up into the air while you're reloading and they won't be able to hit your cupola. They could drive to the side and do it, but if they're face on, and your turret is looking directly at their gun, they're not going to be able to hit your cupola. But anyway, back onto this tank. In towns, you don't want to be leading the charge. You want to be flanking in this thing. You're still a heavy, so you can lead it, but there are tanks that are better suited. E100s, IS7s, IS4s, 113s, name it. Pretty much every other tier 10 heavy has less obvious weak spots. But other tier 10 heavies don't have a gun as good as this. They're not as fast. And also, at range, this thing is extremely hard to actually pen. The IS-7 at range is actually rather easy to pen, because if it's slanted, you can just shoot its upper front plate because of the pike nose. You can just shoot into the side of it and it'll go through. The IS-7 also has a huge, very weak lower plate. Um, and yeah, and if he's looking right at you, you shoot the lower plate. If he's angled, you shoot the inside of the pike nose. Yeah. So it's not great. This tank at long range, if you angle it slightly, maybe like that, and make sure the turret's facing the target, they're going to bounce off of you pretty much every time. Tier 10 tank destroyers will have a better time, but Tier 10 mediums, Tier 10 heavies are not going to be able to pen this tank at range, because in general, the armor of this tank is very, very good. Unless they hit this, but if they're firing 250, 260 pen shots at 300 meters, and they hit really anywhere on this tank other than like here and here, it's going to go in. It's going to bounce. Here and here, you got problems. Maybe here sometimes, but everywhere else, it's just going to bounce. And it's really what this tank is good at: long range engagements, and it's got the gun to kind of back that up. Yeah. I mean, I don't want people to get too confused. This is still a heavy tank, okay? It's one that excels more at flanking and long range than other tanks, but it's still a heavy tank. So you don't, when I say it's good at long range engagements, don't go long range against a Foch or a 268 and then complain at me because you got owned. It's still a heavy tank and it will still lose long range to a tank destroyer. But it's got the speed to get around, and at long range, the armor's pretty, I don't want to say impenetrable, but you get a lot of bounces on this thing. You really, really do. In fact, I prefer the armor on this thing over the IS-7's armor, quite honestly. They're built for different purposes, very, very different purposes indeed, but I think the armor on this is way more reliable. Anyway, I think that's about it. I don't think there's anything I haven't covered. We'll jump straight into some gameplay. So yeah, here we go, the T110E5. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Ensk. This is the first replay I'm going to do in my T110E5 of two. The first one will be on Ensk, the second will be on Komarin. Very different maps. This is extremely city focused. Komarin is very, very open, or reasonably open compared to Ensk anyway. This is not a particularly... I did get an ace tanker in this, but this is not a particularly exceptional replay. Again, I'm trying to show you guys real replays, real mistakes, so you can kind of learn from them. I'm not going to just take out extracts of a battle and show you how awesome I am. I'm just going to show you a pretty... this is still a mastery badge, but this is one I just played yesterday. I'll try and pick good battles for you guys to watch, but this is not like elite, really, really sick battle. I kind of want to show you guys my thought processes, the mistakes I make, what I should and shouldn't have done, etc. Anyway, kicking this off. Again, evaluate the teams. I'm one of the 5 tier 10s in either team-ish, not counting arties. They have... It's pretty even, actually. We have a Batchat, they have a 62A. They have an E50M, which means they're probably going to win the field. However, we should win the town. They've got a 183, and pretty balanced, honestly. They do have the tank destroyers, and we don't. We do have my friend Daft Punk in his 268, and both me and him really carry this game as well. So he really puts that to good work. But they've got the 183, and they've got a 704 and a T, and it's, yeah. So looking at this, who should win the town? Probably us, realistically. If the mouse and the IS-7 do what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to do, should I say. Anyway, right here, I'm rushing way ahead of my team, and I do pay for this. So normally I expect people to react slightly quicker off the bat. I said to Darth originally that I'm going to take up this position here. If he can cover this road so I don't get flanked at the start, that would be great. But I'm basically moving to take this road. Because it's pretty important, because if we get bottlenecked in here, they can just kind of flank us. You don't want to get trapped in this bit here, that's never good. You want to try and push out at least into this road. So I move up pretty quickly. See a 704, trying to get maybe a shot on him from the side. No. He does make... Now, I've spotted because of him, and he does make good use of that. So now I pretty much wait here for the rest of the team to catch up. Which they're not amazingly fast at doing. The i7 really should have got here before me, and the mouse is kind of chickening out in there. Now I get spotted again, I got spotted from the IS-4, 704 as he went across there, so he knew where I was, and I'm spotted again by the IS-7. That's proximity spotting, by the way. Within 50 yards, you'll always be spotted. Doesn't matter what's in between. I might drive forward, just have a cheeky peek around the corner. And yeah, so I'm kind of waiting for my team to kind of back up here, and oh dear, 704 comes around the corner. Mostly because a lot of our stuff has gone over here, and we have nothing here. So I mean, we've already lost map control in the town, really completely. We control this. We don't control this road, and we control that. Whereas they control this. Right now, they control this square. They control all of this, and we have nothing here either. So you know, the T-54E1 can't help this. So we've pretty much already lost the map control that you really need to take in this town. Now, there's a 704. I think, oh bugger. I take a snapshot at him because I want to basically get a shot away and focus on angling my tank. I was pretty confident it would pen the front of him, but I must hit his gun mantle. I very quickly angle my tank. Doesn't make a blind bit of difference. He just goes right through my lower plate. It's kind of hard to see because of the bush, but he just goes right in there. And then very wisely backs off around the corner before I can reload. Good move by him. Honestly, in most games, that can never fucking happen. Sorry, I shouldn't be swearing, but again, I don't want to... I mean, again, this is me saying react to your team, not what they should do. So react to what they are doing, not what they should be doing. Now, every time I play this map, I always assume that something isn't... a tier 9 in a tier 10 game isn't going to be able to drive down here and shoot along here without getting punished by one of our team. But it's just happened. And again, my mistake. Really, I mean, I don't want to start blaming my team, but they really should have done something about that. They should have been in a position to make sure I couldn't get flanked, but stuff happens, you know. Hey ho, and you can see where he's penned me, right there. Again, tank destroyers at tier 9 and 10 are just going to go through your lower plate at that range. Doesn't really matter what you do. Yeah. So, less complaining, more talking. I still can't really make a move here. These guys are hiding here, doesn't help anyone. This is a pointless position for them to be in. They're playing way too defensively. Luckily, Daft Punk is actually pushing up here, which does help my position. And so I say, well, okay, well, why don't we push that then? Because if they're just going to sit there, then I may as well do something constructive. Here we go. Now this is pretty interesting. You saw Daft Punk just fire, and he hits the 5916 and does no damage, and he's side on. And I'll show you what happens here. Okay. 5916 that I shot in the side, and you saw the shell go into the side of his tank. His tracks just absorbed my shell. So I get some revenge by ammo racking him. I mean, and I asked him on comms. I said, you know, what happened? How come you didn't one-shot him? And apparently the same thing happened. The 5916 just absorbed his shell. And by the way, he's fitting a tier 10 tank destroyer in the 268. He's got a massive gun. So quite how that happened, I don't know. Anyway. And you see him get another round down onto that T28. So now we've opened up this flank and we can push forward more. And this is what I'm talking about in this tank. You don't want to be leading the charge through here in this tank because you'll just get clobbered. You want to flank. You want to try and flank as much as possible, and then use the fact that you are a quick heavy tank to really, you know, make them punish and go for it. Pattern shoots and hits my track. I didn't see him, although I was pretty sure that he was going to be around here. It looks like he fired heat from the explosion for whatever reason. So there you go. Someone bounces a shot off the IS-7 there, as you can see. And I just put a round into his lower plate. T28's looking a bit cheeky. Daft Punk finishes him off. I know I'm normally okay to get a shot on the IS-7, but I don't know when he last fired. But the pattern hits me again. Hits me in the track. Quite alright with that. IS-7 backs off behind the corner. Oh no, he's still there. I'm trying to bait his shot out here. He does, and he hits my track, leaving Daft Punk to come through. Sadly, he does whiff his shot, but it happens sometimes. I know the IS-7's fired, so I'm quite happy to roll out and put a shot into his lower plate. I7's not doing particularly well either. He just whiffed a shot on Daft Punk. That's never going to go in. I didn't want to go out any further and expose myself to the pattern, so I just put a round into him for the sake of it. Have a quick look at the map. We've been crushed over here somehow, seeing as pretty much all of our tanks went up here. I don't really understand how we lost it. They're flanking us here. It's going pretty badly right now, honestly. The i7's finally pulled his finger out and is doing something. The mouse is still sitting in here, but what can you do? Sometimes the team just whatever. Get a cheeky bounce off the pattern. That's really showing this tank. If they don't take the time to aim, you will just bounce when you fire at this tank. Its armour is nothing to be sniffed at. So I start to play aggressively because we're in a bad way. Playing defensively when you're losing can be a good idea sometimes, but most of the time it isn't, because it'll just help you lose anyway. You need to take risks. So I flank the 704, get around into him. Patton hits my track again, really. I knew he really should have got me that time if he aimed properly, but I just wanted to finish off the 704 very quickly because I really didn't want to have to deal with him and the Patton. Patton coming again, and I just shoot the front of his tank. I don't even bother to aim in. I7's going that way, so I decide to flank him. Takes 62A. Again, he shoots at me as he goes past. Believe he does actually damage me there, but again, it's T62A, it's going to happen. I try and go for him to get another shot on him, but yeah, it wasn't really going to happen. The i7 for some reason has backed off of the pattern. I don't really understand. But again, got to react to it. Daft Punk said he'd go back to the base and help clean up there, so he does. So again, just got to use the speed of this tank. Not slow, it's nippy. And you can just really abuse the flanking. I quickly check the 50M isn't looking at me as I go up behind the pattern. And I just fire a shot into him without even aiming. Again, he whiffs another shot on me. Really should have made that count. He does try to circle me, which is quite effective. But he does, however. See there? He fired and somehow bounced off the back of my tank. He is getting quite unlucky, and I'm getting quite lucky here. And then the mouse that finishes him off from down there. Okay. I stay here and I think, oh wait, they've still got 3 RT left. I need to move. And lo and behold, RT shell lands right there. Get a shot on E50M as he's pulling out. He's got bigger things to worry about than me right now. Mouse tracks him. Shoot for his engine. And finish him off. 62A is going on a bit of a rampage. I start to think about... I think he's going to come down and try and go up here again. So I just start to move to cut him off. But he's going to go along past our cap. There's no point in me trying to chase a 62A across the map, so I turn around. I'll speed it up a bit here. 4,000 damage so far, pretty good. Most of it against 704s, tier 10s. So, going pretty well. And now it's just a case of mopping up the arty. Go in here. I stop when I get over these train tracks because they really throw off your aim. As the arty makes a run for it. This gun, it's just really, really quick, reliable. You can really, make snapshots with it. It barely got any aiming time. Just dodge a shell from the arty there that tries to fire at me. Also, very good accuracy on the move, as you can see. You can really just fire as you're driving in this thing. Arty misses me again. Again, another shot on the move. He's already fired, I know. Away he goes. Looking for the third one. And he does hit me, but it was Lorraine. I knew he wasn't going to one-shot me. And he moves, gets lit up, gets me a top gun. 5,300 damage, top gun. We got 11 kills between us. Pretty close to the crucial contribution, me and Darth there. We really kind of bossed that game. So what I was trying to show you there is, although that wasn't a particularly good game from my perspective, I was trying to show you that this tank can move, city maps. Try not to engage stuff head on, particularly other tier 10s or tank destroyers. Flank. You've got the speed. the gun's really nice and reliable. You can flank around stuff, and in any tank, you really, if the opportunity's there, you always want to flank. You don't want to pilot stuff head on. As soon as you start flanking something, it has two different directions it needs to worry about. So that's really what World of Tanks is all about: flanking, really. World of Flanks, if anything, is what it should be called. So you really got to get in there and make sure the enemy's looking at more than one thing. And this tank really excels at doing this. It's still got really, really good armor. It's got a really good gun, and it's nippy. It can get into places, and it can, it's a threat. So it really makes people turn and think. Anyway, on to the next game. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Komarin. I believe Komarin is Russian, and the rough translation is the place where fun goes to die. Pretty apt for this map, because in tier 10 games with a lot of tank destroyers, which thankfully there are not in this game, this map is really difficult to push on. And it requires teamwork, which you really don't get in pub matches. I'm with Daft Punk again. In fact, this game was straight after my Ensk game. So I'm really, I took these yesterday. So I'm really, these aren't cherry picked replays. There's just replays I did with this tank. Look at the teams again. Not many tank destroyers this time, which means that the central island is going to be less of a death trap than it usually is. This thing here. There are a lot of heavies and mediums, which means realistically, whoever controls the central island in this game normally ends up winning it, because it gives you opportunities for spots. If you hold the central island, you can push down these flanks without worrying about getting shot. So really, this battle is won and lost on the central island. Not a lot of people realise that, but that's why in almost every tank other than the tank destroyer, I will always go to the central island here. Sometimes it ends up really, really badly, because if you're on the central island and they somehow manage to push a flank, you're then getting shot from about 180 degrees, really. So they push this, for example, right up to here. There's very, very few places you can hide. It's bad enough as it is. It's not a great place to hide from most stuff. I mean, from going from this side, the only safe place is behind this building. There's a rock here, which can be nice, but there's a gap between the building and the rock where you can get shot from over here. On this side if you come to this side of the island, you get shot from over here. These buildings are not reliable. The only safe spot is here, and you can only get shot from literally here and here. So it's really the only spot you can go to. I expect them to contest the island with a couple of things. It's kind of what heavies are supposed to do on this map, really. Some that are quick, like I7s, can kind of push down these flanks to here and up to here and whatever. But really, if you're in a heavy tank, or a tank that can do it, let's say, you really want to contest the island. Obviously, if your entire team is going there, don't do it. But it's the most important position on the map. Anyway, I quickly find out that I'm the only bastard going to the island. So whatever, I'll be Robinson Crusoe and just chill out. Through the tank traps, and there we go. Conqueror spotted already. T71, pretty cheeky, coming up there. Wow, this replay is lagging something fierce. Anyway, IS7, I made sure I angled up myself slightly because I knew stuff would be popping up there. He tracks me, and I just roll forward. You need to get to this building. That was quite risky, because if they had tank destroyers sitting here, I would have taken 3 hits there. But sitting behind this rock never did anyone any good, so I needed to get across here. Luckily, I did that. So on this island, I know there's a 62A, a T71, and an IS7. I'm here on my own. These two cannot help me. So it's 3v1 currently for control of the island. So I really need to start making it work. There's the Leopard. That was a really bad shot by me. This replay is kind of lagging a little bit. I don't know why. But anyway, we'll carry on. There you go. And that was a long way away. That was probably 450 meters. It really shows the accuracy of this tank and what it can do. The gun, very quick aiming times, as I said before. Good accuracy. Just, point and shoot, really. Try and get a shot on the T30. Can't. Finish off the Leopard. Now, the WZ-11114 does get a return shot at me. I was exposed. Actually, That was a pretty lucky shot. He managed to track me and I repaired it instantly because you don't want to get tracked there. That's bad. But he did manage to track me, which means he must have hit me. I was angled reasonably well considering where he was. There was a bit of my track showing, but it was quite a long way away. But anyway, pretty well so far. Got off 620 damage. Now we're in for a bit of trouble because they are going to start abusing this island. And the 268 has also arrived on that hill over there. That's really bad for me. Really, our team have kind of fucked me a little bit here because none of them have contested this area, which means that they could just push up here all they like. It's not, they can't make a break from here really because they'll get spotted by these guys, but it does mean they can sit here and get shots on me, which is really bad. You always want to control at least your half of the map, because if you don't, more than on most maps, it snowballs, because as soon as you start to lose control of the island, the game really goes badly for you. But anyway, so given that I know the 268 is there, this building is no longer safe, and considering we're pushing down here quite far, I'm starting to move behind this rock. Now, that 62A, the angle I'm giving him, is really bad play by me. I should really have done that slightly better. However, I kind of panicked when I saw the 268. You can see in the replay he's not facing me, but I didn't know that, and I didn't want to kind of, take the time to check, because that's enough time for him to aim and hit me for like 700 damage. So I just started to reverse. Now he does get around into me, which is fine, because I will trade a hit with him, and that doesn't really bother me at all, because I hit harder than he does. So again, just using this rock, I bait his shot. Roll out, fire, roll back. Again, he really should have been watching for that, and he gets one shot by the arty. Pretty pleased with that. Took out one of the more dangerous tanks on their team. This T71 is being extremely cheeky. I don't know what he thinks he's doing, but that's pretty bloody brave. So I put a round into him for his trouble. I also bounced a shot from over there somewhere. I'm not quite sure where from. Probably one of these tanks, so I'm pretty lucky to do it. But sometimes you can use a little bit of luck. I can see the 268. I know where he is. I know he's down there, so I know I'm safe to move back behind the house again. T110E5 over there. Aiming quickly. Snapshotted that. Was maybe a bit unlucky for that to bounce. I saw him moving backwards, so I just took the shot when I could. Try and get him again. Can't really manage it. Fire a blind shot just to have a go. 57 heavy. Again, can't really see him. I'm sitting like that, by the way, so I can reverse back quickly behind the rock. So if the 268 gets spotted again, I mean, if I'm facing the 268, he's still going to pen me anyway. If he's taking his time. So really, why I'm sitting like this is so I can reverse backwards very, very quickly. Because I'm pretty sure the 268 is going to pen me anyway. So I'd rather, if he gets spotted, I can react quickly to him, if that makes sense. So I've got more time to drive back, because I'm pretty sure he's going to pen me no matter what happens. Still contesting this island. I'm not feeling... Normally, I should try and be pushing these guys a bit more, but I'm not really feeling particularly comfortable about that right now, because they have more map control than we do. We are pushing down here, and I do make use of that in a second, as you'll see. E5 again. Not sure where, just his weird erratic movement kind of screwed me a bit there. I see the 268, and I reverse back out there. Now, again, get pretty lucky, but again, it just shows you this tank from range. I'm not sure where that dinged. Oh, there, or off my turret at range. That's pretty good. Also off my cupola at range, sorry, off the side of my turret. Again, this is what I'm saying. At range, this tank is not easy to pen. It's very, very well curved, and it's got really strong armor. So people really are going to struggle. I get back behind the rock. I took quite a wide angle out as I moved back here, but I felt pretty safe doing that. Again, I could have been less sloppy. I could have just taken a more direct route back here. There's the IS-7 again. And I'm lit up. Try and bait a shot out. He's not interested. And now I'm getting chain spotted. I'm in a pretty bad way, honestly. I try and Don't want to reverse that too much because I know that 268's kind of watching me. Will I chance it? Just try and get a shot on the E5. Again, yeah, just weird terrain. Kind of having real trouble hitting that guy. Again, shot went off a little bit there. Really, just I'm not even bouncing him. I'm not sure what's going on with my shells. I mean, I could be firing these a bit better, but one of them should have hit by this point. Fire another quick blind shot over there just to see if I can get him. Now I duck out, see where the I7 is. Not quite sure. And then I get a hit from that was either the 57 or the E5. And this is what I'm talking about by map control. You know, I should have reacted earlier and tried to get on this side of the houses, but I haven't. And they've really got this in the bag now, and there's nothing stopping them from moving up there. So I need to move, which is what I do. I7's gone off somewhere. I'm very okay with that. Move back behind the house. See, they've moved back. I just very gently. Again, the armor in this tank, man, and again, it just shows you about this island. You really just can get shot from all over the place. I should have reacted faster and got behind these houses quicker, but it's rare that this sort of happens. Actually, this is the side that's normally harder to clear because they've got some very defendable positions back here. But I finally back around the side of it. Again, that shot aiming for my cupola hit my gun mantle. I'm alright with that. Right now, I'm trying to play quite passively. Because if I come out and light this stuff up, nothing can hit them. These guys are out of draw range. You know, these guys aren't really in positions they can shoot. The 50M is, but he's in a bit of an odd spot. So right now, even if I did spot stuff, nothing would happen to it. You know, we do have RT, but yeah, I don't really want to rely on that. And you can see the RT's still pounding my position. Any time you go on this island, you're going to get shot at from all types of directions. And it's something you're just going to have to live with. I make the dash across here. And get spotted for my trouble. Put a nice, again, snapshotting with this tank. Really quick. Just aim, bang, goes through. I7 is not in a great spot here. Reverses across. Put a shell right into the side of his tank. Offering him the part of my tank that I know will bounce. Giving it a good angle. I take a snapshot there that doesn't even hit his tank. Basically I was worried that he was going to get a return shot into me. But I try and finish him off just here. He fires. I get a return shot into him. 2.6k damage, not an incredible game, but I do have a lot of spotting damage. Just when you control this island, you don't even have to try and get spots, they just kind of happen. Because you can see the RT's still trying to focus me, even though I'm, you know, it's far into the game. E5 gets a shot back off. Again, I can't. This island, you can support all sorts of the map. Like they're trying to push our cap right now, and I can get shots on them. You know, you really control the map from here. I move back because I think they're going to start pushing our base a bit more. Turns out they don't really. Don't particularly want to go find that T71. They still got stuff over there, and there's a lot of places they could be hiding. Still playing pretty passively right now. Nice shot into the side of the T57 heavy. Good roll, 458. I'll take that. Move out again. Can't quite see him. At this point in the game, these two need to come along here because there's nothing here that, you know, that is going to really trouble them. If these guys get spotted, that really frees us up because that means people can go up here. I can move because I know where they are. They're doing nothing here right now at all. They need to redline it, go right along the bottom of the map into the forest and clear the RT out. Because no one else can move. You know, I can't move down here because I don't know. I mean, these are all tier 10 tanks, and I'm on this much health. If I try to cross down here and move to here, they're just going to obliterate me. There's still a 268 in there, and I really do not want to get hit by that. So again, just move around the island. I mean, I can see that that's what they're trying to do now. That's kind of you know, they'll kind of work out eventually that that's what they need to do. And they are slowly getting there. They're following the road for some reason. I don't know. The road's actually up on an embankment, so if you go on the other side of it, you even get some cover. There's the 57 heavy again. Again, the arty still focusing the island. You know, there must be more important stuff to shoot at by this point, but apparently not. IS-8's finally getting a move on, taking a bit of a weird route, but you know, whatever, we'll take it. CD5 do bounce on him, and again, you know, firing those things at range is normally pretty difficult. And unless you get the side of one, like the direct side of one, it's going to be really hard to pen them. Because, you know, at certain ranges, you're really firing at the tank as opposed to at weak spots, you know? Like, at a certain range, you're not going to hit weak spots. All you can do is aim for the tank and hope. You know, you can aim for the turret or the hull, you know? And both of them on this tank are very bouncy. I'm trying to put a bit more pressure on them over here this time. Kind of occurs to me that the 268 is probably going to be hiding. Nope, he's right there. He's moved right to the back. Get around into him. Again, accuracy, aiming time on this gun, really, really solid. 268 again. I whiffed that shot. Probably could have done better than that. No. Just going to slow it down a bit here because I'm pretty proud of this last shot. You do not want to fire as soon as I move back over him. You don't want to fire the 268 when he's that angled. That's the best, like right there, I would bounce that shot. It's very, very well angled if he's looking directly at you. So I hold the shot. It's got a pike nose like the IS-7 has. So I wait. See, that guy just bounced his shot and you can see it. So I'm waiting till his armour opens up and get a good hit in. Sometimes it's more important to hold your shots, guys, and wait for that shot you know will pen. Particularly, I mean, that situation, I was in no danger. The 268 hadn't spotted me, and he was lit up. I knew he was turning that way. No reason not to hold the shot. We start to mop up the RT. Both me and the IS-8 fire at exactly the same time. I get the first hit in, he gets the kill. I'll take that. And now we're just kind of clearing up the RT. Now that wasn't a particularly good game, but it was kind of showing what the E5's armour can do when it gets shot from range. You know, it's very, very bouncy tank. In terms of my play, I don't want to say that your options are like someone has to hold the island, and it's really it's kind of the chump thing to do, because your fate is in the hands of the team and what their team does. You can do things to mitigate it, but if they hadn't pushed that flank, and the other team had still got up here, I would have been in a really bad spot. Because I could not have used the side of this house here for cover. I would have been getting shot. I'd still be here. I'd be getting shot from here, up here, over here. Like, yeah. Really, really dependent on the control of the map, this island. But in turn, the island does help give control of the map. It's a very interesting relationship. This is actually a very good map. But for random games, it's very annoying to play on. Again, I did 4k damage. Quite a lot of that was... Only kind of the last maybe 1,000 damage was kind of you know, shots without that didn't have much effect on the game, just kind of mopping up. But I did get a lot of spawning damage in this game, and I sat on the island at the start, and I've been there the whole game. I've been holding it. And someone has to do that. It doesn't matter how well or badly they do. You just need to hold the island. You know, you've all seen Lost. You know how important the island is. Hold the island. We have to go back, Kate, etc. And now we're just trying to find the arty. I thought he might have done a runner up here. Turns out he's still chilling out in the forest, I think. Ah, there we go. Oh, he actually drowns himself, so what a hero. Right. See you guys back in the garage. So there we go. The T110E5. As all the heavy tanks go, it's much more like a medium. Quick, good at flanking, you know, rapid firing gun comparative to other tier 10s. Nice and accurate. Kind of medium players will be quite at home with this if they just kind of reached heavy tanks, because again the playstyle is pretty similar to that of a medium. Not great at brawling because of this. However, at long range, the armor, you know, really, really strong. Really, really good all-round tank overall. Nice and versatile, so you can kind of go into lots of different situations with it. And you can do something with it on every map. You know, if you're in a mouse or something, or an E100, certain maps are way worse than, you know, others. Whereas this, you know, it's got a place on pretty much every map in the game. And that's about it, guys. Thanks very much for watching. My next video will probably be something on the T69. I'm planning on doing something on this and something on the IS7 at some point. I'm not the biggest fan of the IS7 or the VK72, so I'm kind of putting them off. But I'm sure I'll get around to it at some point. Alright, thanks very much for watching. Take care.